My daughter said, "You're too old to matter." She didn't expect my will the day my daughter told me I was too old to matter. Something inside me shattered. She said it with that casual cruelty people use when they think they'll never need you again. I smiled through it, pretending not to feel the knife twisting in my chest. But that night, I opened my safe and stared at my will, the one that held her future in ink. She thought age made me powerless. She didn't realize age had taught me patience, and patience can build the kind of justice that lasts forever. The sound of her voice still echoes in my mind. My daughter, Emma, the little girl whose laughter once filled this house, had grown into a stranger. When her mother died, I promised I'd give Emma the world. I worked overtime, took loans, built a business from nothing just to keep that promise. Every brick in this house was laid with love and sacrifice. But years later, that love had turned into distance. She visited only when it suited her birthdays, holidays, or when she needed something signed. I told myself it was life, that children grow busy. Until that night when she looked me straight in the eyes and ended everything with 8 words. "You're too old to matter anymore, Dad." For a moment I couldn't breathe. The dinner table blurred before me. My hands trembled. Michael, her husband, smirked quietly beside her, the kind of man who smiles when someone else bleeds. I tried to laugh it off, to play the fool like I always had. "Too old," I said, forcing a grin. "Maybe, but I still matter to myself." She rolled her eyes. "Dad, we just mean. It's time you stop trying to handle everything. You can't run your business, the estate, the finances. Let us help." But I knew help was just another word for control. When they left that night, I walked into my study and closed the door. My old heart hurt, not from weakness, but from betrayal. I sat there staring at the framed photo of her as a child, her tiny hand gripping mine, her eyes filled with trust. I whispered to that picture, "You mattered to me every day of your life, but maybe it's time you learn what it means to lose what matters." That was the night the father in me broke, and the man in me decided to act. That night, sleep didn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again, "You're too old to matter." The words crawled through my mind like a splinter that refused to leave. By sunrise, I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, coldly, clearly calm, because I realized something. She thought I had nothing left to give or to take away, so I called Mr. Thompson, my lawyer and oldest friend. He had handled my business since the days when I could barely afford a desk. When I told him I wanted to review my will, he asked, "Is everything all right, John?" I paused before answering. Everything's about to be. When I arrived at his office, the air was heavy with quiet. He poured 2 cups of coffee, one for me, one for himself, the kind of ritual we'd shared for decades. "I assume this isn't a routine visit," he said. "No." I replied, "It's about the people who forgot what I'm worth until it's time to collect." He leaned back. "Your daughter." I nodded slowly. "She and her husband think I'm too old to matter. But if that's how they see me, then maybe it's time I stop trying to prove otherwise." Thompson gave me a long, searching look. "So what do you have in mind?" I pulled the old will from my briefcase. It was a simple document. Everything went to Emma. The house, the savings, the shares in my company. But as I placed it on the desk, it felt like a monument to blindness mine. "I want to rewrite it," I said, completely. Thompson raised an eyebrow. "To whom?" "To people who actually saw me. Maria, my caretaker, David, the mechanic who's fixed my truck for free more times than I can count. Maybe even a scholarship for kids who never got a fair chance. People who understand the value of effort, not entitlement." Thompson's lips curved into a faint smile. "A living will that honors the living. I like that. But I wasn't finished, and one more thing." I said, "I want a letter added for my daughter. It doesn't need to be long, just enough for her to understand that when you throw away someone who raised you, you throw away your inheritance, too." He nodded, spoken like a man who finally remembers his own worth. We spent hours crafting every clause, every signature, every hidden layer. I ensured the assets would be locked in a trust that no lawyer could undo. When I was done, I pressed my pen into the final signature line, and it felt like signing my freedom. For years, I'd lived in fear of being forgotten. That day, I made sure I'd never be overlooked again, not even in death. As I left his office, the late afternoon sun hit my face. The world suddenly looked sharper, clearer, not because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd reclaimed the one thing they'd tried to steal, my dignity. I wasn't too old to matter. I was finally old enough to know how to make it matter most. It took exactly 3 weeks for them to come back. The timing wasn't coincidence, it never was. They must have noticed the quiet. No calls, no updates about the business, no invitations to dinner. Silence has a way of making greedy hearts nervous. When my doorbell rang that afternoon, I already knew who it was. Emma stood there with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Behind her, Michael carried a gift basket, all expensive cheese and imported wine, things they'd never once thought I liked. "Dad," she said sweetly, "we were just worried about you. You haven't called. We wanted to check in." I smiled faintly. "That's thoughtful of you." Michael stepped forward, his tone dripping with artificial warmth. "Yeah, we've been talking. Maybe it's time you let us help you manage your things, you know. The estate, your business shares, we could take some pressure off. Pressure off, that was a nice way to say hand it over. I gestured for them to come in, of course. I said, let's sit. They followed me to the living room, the same one where Emma had played as a child, where her laughter once filled the air. Now it felt like a stage, and I was the audience watching two actors rehearse a lie. Emma looked around. "The house feels quiet," she said softly. "It usually does when people stop visiting." I replied, watching her face stiffen. Michael jumped in quickly. "Oh, we didn't mean to stay away. We just thought maybe you needed space. But you know, at your age, things can happen unexpectedly. You should let us help with the finances before." He trailed off, pretending to sound worried, but his eyes betrayed him cold, assessing, calculating. "Before what?" I asked quietly. He stammered, "Before anything happens, you know, just to be safe." I leaned back in my chair, hands folded. "You're right, Michael, anything can happen." Emma looked relieved. "So you'll let us help?" "I already have," I said. Michael blinked. "Really?" "Yes," I replied. "I've taken care of everything, the finances, the house, the will. It's all settled now. You don't have to worry about a thing." Their eyes lit up in unison. For a moment, I saw the greed flicker across both faces, the kind of silent excitement people get when they think they've won. "That's great news," Michael said quickly. "So, you've updated everything recently." "I have," I said. "Everything's in writing." Emma clasped my hand. "Dad, that's wonderful. I'm so glad you're thinking ahead." I smiled faintly. "So am I, sweetheart." She didn't notice the irony in my tone. After they left, I stood at the window watching their car disappear down the street. I could almost see them grinning, counting what they thought they had just secured, but what they didn't know was that I had already secured something far greater peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't scared of being used, forgotten, or dismissed. The paper sitting in my lawyer's vault had done what I could not say aloud. It drew a line between love and greed, and soon they'd find out which side they were standing on. It happened faster than anyone expected. One morning, the cold crept into my bones a little deeper than usual. The doctor said it was nothing, just age catching up, but I knew better. When you've lived a long life, you can feel when time starts to fold its wings around you. So I called Mr. Thompson one last time. "Everything signed, sealed, and safe?" I asked. He nodded. "Every word, John. They can't touch it." "Good," I said quietly. "Then I can rest." It happened faster than anyone expected. One morning, the cold crept into my bones a little deeper than usual. The doctor said it was nothing, just age catching up, but I knew better. When you've lived a long life, you can feel when time starts to fold its wings around you. So I called Mr. Thompson one last time. "Everything's signed, sealed, and safe?" I asked. He nodded. "Every word, John. They can't touch it." "Good," I said quietly. "Then I can rest." A week later, I was gone. They said I passed peacefully in my sleep. No pain, no struggle. Just a man closing his eyes after a lifetime of giving too much to those who never saw his worth. Emma and Michael arrived at the funeral with solemn faces and empty hearts. They stood by the casket, whispering condolences to people they hadn't spoken to in years. Every tear she shed looked rehearsed. Neighbors came. Maria came, her eyes red but steady. Even Mr. Thompson stood near the back, hat in hand, knowing what was coming next. Because this was the moment the story would turn. 3 days after the funeral, the family gathered at Thompson and Associates. The air was thick with perfume and pretense. Emma sat up straight, her black dress perfectly pressed. Michael leaned back, one leg crossed, smiling faintly as though he already knew the ending. But I had written a different ending. Thompson cleared his throat. By the wishes of the late Mr. Whittaker, I will now read the final testament. He began with the formalities, names, dates, acknowledgments. Emma fidgeted. Michael's smirk widened. Then the words changed to my daughter, Emma. I leave my love and the memories of the years when love still meant something. You told me I was too old to matter, so I've left you something that will remind you of how much I once did. Emma's smile faltered. You'll find in this envelope the photograph you took at your 5th birthday, the one where you're sitting on my shoulders. That picture cost nothing, but to me, it was everything. It's the only thing you inherit. Thompson paused. You could hear the clock ticking in the silence. The rest of the estate, assets, and business shares are hereby transferred to the John Whittaker Foundation, a trust dedicated to providing education, housing, and support to children who never had a father to tell them they mattered. Emma gasped. What? That can't be right. Michael's face turned red. This is insane. He wouldn't do that. Thompson looked at them both, expression steady. He did. Every word is legally binding. Emma stood up, trembling. No, he loved me. He wouldn't leave me with nothing. Thompson met her eyes. He loved you enough to teach you the cost of cruelty. Her voice broke. He can't punish me like this. It's not punishment, Thompson said softly. It's the truth. Michael slammed his hand on the table. We'll contest it. Thompson shook his head. You can try, but you'll lose. He planned this carefully. Every clause, every signature, it's airtight. Emma sank into her chair, tears streaking down her makeup. Why would he do this to me? Because you did it first. I wanted to whisper from wherever I was. Because you looked at the man who gave you everything and told him he was nothing. When they left that office, the world finally saw them as they truly were, not grieving children, but people stripped of the masks they'd worn for too long. And somewhere above the silence, I think I smiled. Because justice, when it's written in love, doesn't need witnesses to be real. The house was too quiet when Emma returned, not the kind of quiet that comforts you, the kind that crawls under your skin and reminds you you're alone. She walked through the halls she once ran through as a child, now filled with echoes of a father she had pushed away. Every corner whispered his name. Every room carried the faint scent of old cologne and the warmth of a life she had forgotten. On the coffee table sat a single envelope, her name written in her father's shaky handwriting. Emma, her hands trembled as she picked it up. Michael muttered something about not wasting time, but she didn't listen. For the first time in a long time, she wanted to hear her father's voice, even if it came from beyond the grave. She unfolded the letter slowly. The paper smelled faintly of cedar and dust, just like him. My dear daughter, when you told me I was too old to matter, I realized I had failed you not as a provider, but as a parent. I taught you how to chase success, but not how to respect it. I gave you comfort, but not compassion. You believed age made me invisible, but age, Emma, is what allows a person to see clearly, especially the people who have stopped seeing them. I don't blame you for growing distant. Life pulls us in different directions, but I do blame the part of you that let pride speak louder than love. My final gift isn't money or a house. It's something far heavier. Understanding. When you walk through this home and see the walls we built together, I hope you remember that every brick was love. Love doesn't fade when the giver grows old, only when the receiver stops looking. I may be gone, but my lesson remains. You can lose a fortune and rebuild it. But once you lose respect, it's gone forever. With love that never stopped, Dad. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. She sank into the chair, clutching the letter to her chest. The same mouth that once called him too old to matter now trembled with regret. Michael stood by the doorway, arms folded. "Well," he said coldly, "he's gone. The house isn't yours. What's the point of crying now?" She turned on him, her voice shaking. "Get out." "What?" "I said get out, Michael," she shouted. "You wanted the money, it's gone. All that's left is what I destroyed, and I'm done listening to someone who only taught me how to take." He sneered, grabbed his coat, and slammed the door behind him. The echo lingered, but for once, she didn't chase after anyone. She sat alone, the letter still open on her lap, reading it again and again until the sun went down. Outside, the world moved on. Inside, a daughter finally began to understand the meaning of her father's silence. Because he hadn't punished her, he had taught her in the only language she would finally listen to, loss. Days passed, but the letter didn't leave her hands. Emma carried it everywhere in the car, in her purse, beside her at night. It was as if holding it might somehow undo the years she had wasted ignoring the man who had written it. The silence of the house had changed, too. It no longer felt like home, it felt like a museum of her guilt. Every photo on the wall stared back with quiet accusation. Her father's chair by the window, his half-finished crossword on the table, the faint scent of his aftershave that refused to fade. For the first time, Emma didn't feel rich. She felt small. A week later, she did something no one expected, not even herself. She went to the address written at the bottom of her father's will, the John Whitaker Foundation. The building wasn't grand, just a converted brick schoolhouse downtown. But inside, it was alive, laughter echoing down the hallways, children running between offices, volunteers sorting boxes of donated books and toys. At the front desk sat Maria, her father's longtime housekeeper, now wearing a modest name tag that read director. When she looked up and saw Emma, her face hardened slightly. "Emma," she said flatly. "Didn't expect to see you here. I just wanted to see what he left behind," Emma replied quietly. Maria nodded toward the window where a group of kids were reading. "He left this. He said he wanted to give other children the same hope he once gave you before you stopped believing in him." Emma flinched. The words hurt because they were true. Maria stood and walked her through the rooms. On the walls hung photos of smiling children, each captioned with a small plaque. Whitaker Scholarship recipient, future engineer. Housing grant, family safe and home. "He used to come here every week," Maria said softly. "Even when he was tired, he'd read to them, fix broken furniture, share his old stories. He said these kids listened to him, that they reminded him he still mattered." Tears welled up in Emma's eyes. "I didn't know," she whispered. Maria turned to her. "He tried to tell you, but you were always too busy proving you were grown." They stopped in the main hallway where a large bronze plaque hung under her father's portrait. The inscription read, "Age doesn't make us invisible, it makes us invaluable." John Whitaker below it were smaller engravings, names of those who had helped fund the foundation, volunteers and benefactors. But one name stood alone at the bottom, in loving memory of Emma Whitaker's father. She reached out, fingertips brushing over the letters as her voice cracked. "He still used my name." Maria's tone softened. "Because no matter what you said, you were still his daughter. He just needed you to see him again." Emma stood there for a long time, watching the children laugh through the glass walls. She realized her father hadn't left her with nothing. He had left her the chance to become something again, human, humbled, and forgiven. That evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Emma whispered through trembling lips, "Dad, you were right. You always mattered. I just forgot to notice." For the first time in years, she smiled not from joy, but from clarity. The reckoning had arrived, and it had cleansed more than her name. It had reopened her heart. Morning light spilled through the foundation's glass doors as Emma walked in again, this time not as an intruder, but as a volunteer. Her heels clicked softly against the tiled floor, her expensive jewelry replaced by a plain cardigan and jeans. For the first time in years, she didn't come to be seen, she came to serve. Maria looked up from a stack of folders, surprise flickering across her face. "You're back," she said cautiously. Emma nodded. "If there's work to be done, I'd like to help." The older woman studied her for a long moment, then gave a small, knowing smile. "There's always work to be done. The children could use another reader today." That afternoon, Emma sat on the floor of the children's reading room, surrounded by tiny faces listening with wide eyes. Her voice trembled at first, unsure, but then softened, steady, gentle, human. As she read stories of kindness and courage, she saw glimpses of her father everywhere, in the little boy who laughed too loud, in the shy girl who clutched her sleeve, in the volunteer who smiled and said, "He'd be proud of you." After the session, one of the children handed her a crayon drawing. It was crude but heartfelt, a little gray-haired man standing beside a smiling woman under a bright sun. "Who's this?" Emma asked softly. The girl grinned. "That's you and Mr. Whittaker. Maria said he used to come every week. She said he loved stories too." Emma bit her lip as her eyes filled with tears. "He did," she whispered, "and I think he still does." Weeks turned into months. The foundation became Emma's second home. She organized fundraisers, helped deliver meals, and really listened to the stories of people who had once been invisible, just like her father had felt. Maria eventually handed her a set of keys. "You've earned these," she said. "The board voted to make you co-director." Emma stared at the keys, overwhelmed. "I don't deserve this." "No," Maria said gently. "You earned it the hard way. Your father believed people could change. I think he'd like knowing you proved him right." One quiet evening, after everyone had gone home, Emma stood alone before her father's portrait in the hallway. She placed fresh lilies beneath it as favorite. "I thought you wanted my success," she whispered, "but you just wanted my heart. I see that now." Her voice broke. "I'm sorry, Dad, for every dinner I missed, for every word I shouldn't have said, for not seeing how much you still mattered." For a moment, the air felt warm, as if the walls themselves exhaled forgiveness. She smiled through the tears. "I can't change what I said, but I can live differently because of it. And I will." When donors came to visit weeks later, Emma didn't boast about money or buildings. She spoke about her father, about respect, about the quiet strength of those who give without expecting anything back. And every time she told that story, their story, she made sure to end it with words engraved beneath his name. "Age doesn't make us invisible, it makes us invaluable." That day, as she watched a new group of children open books and laugh under the afternoon light, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Because redemption wasn't found in money or inheritance. It was found in becoming the kind of person her father had believed she still could be. And for the first time, she finally mattered, not because of what she owned, but because of what she'd learned. Years passed, the seasons turned, and with each one, Emma grew a little older and a little wiser. Her hair began to show streaks of silver, the same silver she once teased her father about, but now every strand felt like a thread connecting her back to him. The John Whittaker Foundation had grown beyond anything she or her father could have imagined. What began as a few rooms in an old brick building was now a network of schools, libraries, and scholarships changing lives across the state. But Emma never let it feel like an empire. To her, it was still his dream, and every morning she stopped in the same hallway before starting her day, the one where his portrait hung beneath. Engraved words, "Age doesn't make us invisible, it makes us invaluable." She touched the plaque softly, the metal cool beneath her fingertips. "I understand now, Dad," she whispered. "It's not about how long we live, but how deeply we leave our mark." One afternoon, a young volunteer named Caleb, barely 18, approached her nervously. "Miss Whittaker," he said, "my mom said you were the founder's daughter. Is it true?" Emma smiled. "Yes, I am." He looked at the portrait, then back at her. "He must have been a great man." "He was," she said softly. "He taught me something I'll never forget, that kindness is the only inheritance that never loses value." Caleb tilted his head. "Did you always understand that?" Emma's eyes glistened. "No, it took me a lifetime to learn it." That night, long after the last volunteer had gone home, Emma sat by the window of her office, the same kind her father once looked out of in his own study. The city lights shimmered, and she could almost imagine him sitting beside her, his voice steady, calm, proud. She opened his old letter one last time, now worn and faded at the edges. The ink had smudged over the years, but the words still glowed with the warmth of truth. You can lose a fortune and rebuild it, but once you lose respect, it's gone forever. She smiled through tears, whispering to the quiet room, "I never lost you, Dad. I just had to find myself to see you again." As she left the office, she turned off the lights one by one. In the dim glow of the hallway, her father's portrait seemed almost alive, his eyes kind, patient, knowing. Emma paused before walking out the door. "You were never too old to matter," she said. "You were the only one who truly did." And as she stepped into the night, the stars above the foundation shimmered, 1,000 silent witnesses to a daughter's redemption and a father's enduring grace. She said he was too old to matter. But in the end, his legacy proved he mattered more than anyone. Because love, respect, and kindness never fade, they only wait to be rediscovered. Sometimes the greatest justice isn't revenge, it's redemption. Thank you for watching Betrayal to Justice. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories where betrayal fades and humanity rises.